His Excellency Mr. Vishnu Pukar Shrestha, Ms. Sabnam Sivakoti, Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, Professor Long Shingsun, Dr. Huang Chendu, Ms. Savita Nakarmi, friends from China Overseas Development Association, participants from different diplomatic missions, scholars, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, namaste, and ni hao. Welcome to a special event on enhancing Nepal-China relations, prospects for investment in Nepal, which is organized by the initiative of Embassy of Nepal, Beijing, in coordination with Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement. Before I start, let me very briefly introduce my think tank, which is Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement, that is based in Kathmandu. It is an independent, apolitical, and non-partisan research institute registered under Companies Act of 2006 of Nepal. We undertake independent research and activities on issues of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and issues of development. China Studies is one of our major research centers, and China's Belt and Road Initiative is a major research topic at NICE. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that Nepal and China enjoys deep, outstanding historical and friendly ties. The relation that dates back to the prior to 7th century has fostered over the years, and it has taken new heights since the establishment of their diplomatic ties in 1955. While China pursues a policy towards Nepal based on the 5 principles of peaceful existence or Panchil, inspired by the Buddhist philosophical thought, Nepal is formally committed to one China policy. Both countries respect each other's sensitivities and aspirations. China has made impressive economic growth, which has led to huge transformation and modernizations since the economic reforms of 1978. In the last 4 decades, China has lifted 800 million people of its citizens out of poverty. In 2013, it announced the most ambitious global infrastructure development strategy, which is also known as Belt and Road Initiative, to connect itself with Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Africa with a web of roads, high-speed railway, power lines, ports, pipelines, optic fiber lines, and other infrastructure, opening doors of opportunities for the region. Nepal and the countries in the region see this as an opportunity. There has been frequent high-level exchanges between Nepal and China, and economic cooperation is one of the most important dimensions of their bilateral relations. Nepal wishes to reap benefits of rising China, as both the countries have not been able to overcome the Himalayan barrier. Thus, to meet Nepal's desire to connect itself with vast Chinese economy, both the countries have agreed to build the Trans-Himalayan Multi-Dimensional Connectivity Network. Similarly, Nepal signed Memorandum of Understanding on BRI in 2017 with the aim to attract huge investment from China for its connectivity and other mega development projects that can lead to Nepal's prosperity. While China is emerging as a favorite destination for acquisitions, beautiful Himalayan Nepal is getting popular among the Chinese tourists. The bilateral relations should be further strengthened in the areas of investment, connectivity, trade, agriculture, education, people-to-people relations, and others. During this pandemic, there was disturbance in carrying out the economic engagement between the two friendly countries smoothly. However, as the pandemic is over, China has opened up. The Embassy of Nepal, Beijing, decided to organize today's discussion and explore different facets of Nepal-China relations and explore the prospects of Chinese investment in Nepal. Thus, to talk on these issues, we have invited very distinguished scholars and experts from China and Nepal. We are really honored by their kind presence, thanked for their valuable time, and we are confident that they will guide us in this direction. Now, to deliver the welcome remarks, may I now invite His Excellency Mr. Vishnu Pukar Shrestha, Ambassador of Nepal to the People's Republic of China. His Excellency Mr. Vishnu Pukar Shrestha is the Ambassador of Nepal to People's Republic of China and non-resident ambassador to Mongolia and Democratic People's Republic of Korea. He joined the embassy in July 2022. Excellency has graduated in agriculture science and holds a master's degree in political science as well as postgraduate in law from Tribhuvan University of Nepal. Although he started his career as a teacher, His Excellency has actively involved in politics as an advisor for the promotion of peace process and human rights. Since his arrival in Beijing, Ambassador has been active in strengthening the bilateral relations between Nepal and China. Excellency, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pramod. Uh, of, the presenters of this program, from different organizations, ministries, Nepal Tourism Board, and professors of different universities of China. Ladies and gentlemen, namaskar, good afternoon, ni hao. It is a matter of immense pleasure to me to welcome you all today in this webinar, Enhancing Nepal-China Relations, Prospects of Investment in Nepal. The webinar has brought together Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Nepal Tourism Board, and the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing. From Nepal side, and the professors from Nepal Study Center of Sichuan University, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the distinguished presenters of this webinar. The purpose of the webinar is to disseminate information about the investment opportunities in Nepal, particularly in the areas of investment in agriculture, tourism, and education, and attract investment from abroad, including China. The webinar has been conducted Facebook Live to all so that a large number of audience can benefit from the information shared, and we are connected with over 100 potentials of Chinese investors, academia, and think tank via Zoom link. I truly thank Nepal Institute of International Cooperation and Engagement for hosting this webinar. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to China Overseas Development Organization, CODA, for assisting Embassy to connecting with Chinese investor via Zoom link. Ladies and gentlemen, investment in Nepal is crucial, very pertinent, important to achieve its goal of socio-economic development and progress. Nepal, being a virgin land for investment, has developed several policies and regulations to guarantee safe and profitable investment in Nepal. Since Nepal and China are age-old friends, trusted partners, and good neighbors, Nepal appreciates China's investment in the field of physical infrastructure, energy, agriculture, connectivity, and it has been commendable by the support done by China. China is one of the largest investment partners of Nepal, and Nepal is a rich repository of immense natural resources, endowment, which are yet to be tapped fully. Nepal looks forward to China's assistance in the investment in Nepal. I think this is the appropriate time for Chinese investors to invest in Nepal, as China has marched forward higher level of opening up, focusing on high quality development and modernization. On the other hand, policy reforms, stable macroeconomic indicators, fairly good assessment in doing business, a strong commitment to the rule of law and good governance are some of the notable features that makes Nepal an attractive investment destination. In fact, investment in Nepal is safe with high returns. Meanwhile, Nepal aims for graduating from least developed country to in 2026 and becoming a middle income country by 2030. For which investment in various sectors of Nepal is a must. I'm confident that today's deliberation, presentation on the potentials of investment in Nepal will be beneficial in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, modernizations of agriculture industry of Nepal is one of the important areas that require foreign direct investment. Madam Sabnam Sivakoti from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development will be presenting on the need of investment in the agriculture industry in Nepal. Agriculture and agricultural industry in Nepal. Nepal, largely being an agro-based country, relies on subsistence farming. Nepal needs capacity development and technology transfer for the modernizations of agricultural industry. We have seen huge trade deficit favoring China, which can be a little balanced by exports of Nepali products, including tea, herbal medicines, citrus fruit, buffalo meat, coffee, ginger, yarn, etc. to China. Several measures, including case of technical barriers, preferential treatment to Nepali products, are viewed as ways in enhancing agricultural cooperation between Nepal and China. Further details will be elaborated in the presentation itself. Dear friends, tourism industry is an important industry where Chinese investment can result in mutual benefit and win-win cooperation. Nepal is an amalgam of nature and culture. Nepal is the birthplace of Shakyamuni Buddha, Lumbini, and the land of highest Mount Everest, Chomolungma, including other 8 highest mountains, over 800 meters. Nepal is rich in natural resources, biodiversity, and cultural heritage. Nepal offers opportunities for various amenities, including trekking, hiking, mountaineering, rafting, paragliding, mountain flight, canoeing, bungee jumping, boating, and others. Good airlines connectivity has made the travel easier. Nepali people welcome the visitors with a friendly smile and hospitable VIP. At the same time, Nepal has been enlisted in the top priorities countries of China for outbound group tourism. A group of Chinese tourists have been enjoying the beauty of Nepal right now. It is just the beginning. A lot more Chinese tourists will be visiting Nepal in near future. I request the Chinese visitors to visit Nepal and experience the real beauty of nature. The presentation by Chief Executive Officer of Nepal Tourism Board, Mr. Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, would be a more enlightening one. I am thinking so. I'm very excited here. From Chinese side, we are here about the development of education system in China by Professor Long Xingchun from Sichuan University of China. Education is the prime factor for the development of each nation. China has eradicated absolute poverty and moved ahead in the path of modernization, characterized by higher level of developments of education, innovation, science, and technology. Education has been highly prioritized in modern, harmonious, inclusive, and a beautiful China. Nepal cherishes the academic development of China, as Nepal and China enjoy excellent academic relations. Since the time of Bhrikuti and Aranigo, holy scriptures of Buddhism were exchanged. Venerable monks from both countries have traveled across. At present, many Nepali students, namely in the areas of medicine, technology, agriculture, and others, have pursued higher education in China and have benefited as well. China has been providing scholarship in Nepali students to Nepali students via Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, or CSC, China's scholarship program. We are confident the academic relations between the two countries will be further strengthened in the days to come. Last but not the least, we have a presentation on Belt and Road Initiative by Professor Wang Chengdu from Nepal Study Center of Sichuan University. The Belt and Road Initiative is a good example of promoting mutually beneficial cooperation for global development. Nepal signed agreement on BRI in 2017. And the feasibility study of the Nepal-China cross-border train is underway since December 2022. Nepal has also signed agreement on the Trans-Himalayan Multidimensional Connectivity Network in 2018 to intensify the development of multidimensional connectivity between two countries. The details on BRI would be more enlightening ones, which will save light, particularly from the perspective of deepening the ties between Nepal and China. Before concluding, allow me to reiterate that Nepal and China are trusted friends, close neighbors, and reliable partners in development. It is a matter of great satisfaction that the bilateral relations between Nepal and China have been expanding in various fields of mutual interest over the years. We respect the sensitivity and aspirations of China, as China has opened up for its contribution to global economy and socio-cultural development. Nepal is optimistic towards investment from Chinese side in agriculture, tourism, education, infrastructure, and other nationally prioritized sectors of Nepal. Once again, I wish all for success of the webinar and also welcome once again to all the presenters and participants of this webinar. Thank you. Sese.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you so much for your wonderful remarks. May I now invite Ms. Sabnam Siwakoti, who has been associated with the government of Nepal for more than 20 years in various capacities under Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Currently, she is heading the Agriculture and Livestock Business Promotion Division as Joint Secretary in the Ministry. Prior to this, she was deputed as Provincial Secretary for Ministry of Land Management, Agriculture and Cooperatives at Gandaki Province, Pokhara. During her tenure in Pokhara, she was keenly involved in the formulation of Agro-Business Promotion Act and implementation of various agro-business-related interventions. She has been engaged in preparing various policy and strategic documents, including agriculture development strategy and various policy guidelines, among others. She has led several projects and is the focal point for various programs and initiatives. She has participated in various national and international fora as delegate, panelist, presenter, and moderator. She has been keen on policy research, especially in the area of food and nutrition security, trade and agro-business, and climate change. She has publications on her credit. Madam, over to you. Her presentation is on opportunities in agriculture sector in Nepal, and I'll be sharing the slide.
Thank you, Dr. Pramod. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development to this presentation, this interaction program. Your Excellency, Ambassador Mr. Vishnu Prakash Shrestha, Ambassador to the PRC from Nepal, and all the distinguished delegates, presenters, and the participants. So I'm very pleased to be here. Just a small apology that because I couldn't connect through my laptop, so I'm I'm taking your assistance in moving the slide and hope I can complete within the given time. So I'll be presenting briefly about the opportunities in agriculture sector, mostly from what is the brief outline of agriculture in Nepal and particularly agriculture trade scenario. Similarly, what are the prevailing policies and regulations for the agriculture sector? My another would be on the potential export commodities. There are possible areas of investments and what are the issues and challenges with the current agriculture systems. And of course, in the last, I'll be talking about how the technical cooperation, the embassy or the government of People's Republic of China can help us with the technical cooperation to facilitate this this trade. Next slide, please. So briefly talking about the agriculture sector, we know that about 50% of the population of Nepal are dependent on agriculture. They are involved in the agriculture, and this is a huge sector contributing to the national GDP. And in terms of the farming system, this is a very integrated farming system. This is more basically subsistence agriculture, and our major crop are rice, wheat, maize, some of the cereal crops, and vegetables, fruits and spice crops. Besides, there are tea, coffee, other. Excuse me, Dr. Pramod, can you stop me from being a host because I can see a lot of pop-up admit messages coming up and I cannot see my screen. Okay, thank you. Okay, so and also there are a lot of potential of the dairy sector and also meat and meat sector because we grow livestock farming as well. And if we look at our agriculture system as a whole, there's a lot of low productivity is one of the key concern for us, low productivity for the crops and also low productive animals. Okay. And then, but despite all this, there's a growing commercialization of the agriculture sector, and a lot of agriculture mechanization is happening place, and a lot of agricultural modernization is taking places, and also because of the remittance and other income growth, there's a lot of growing demand for the meat and meat products, fruits, vegetables, and also fine dye. So because of this, a lot of those commodities are also being imported, although we produce them. And similarly, there's a demand for this industrial maize is growing because we have a growing poultry sector. And there's the potato, the onion, and other various processed food, the demand for them is growing higher. And if we look at the overall economic sector and the agriculture sector as a whole, although 50% of the population are dependent on the agriculture, and out of the agro-based industries, forest and fishery-based industries, almost 57.3% are dependent on the agro-based industries also. And our HGDP contribution per capita is about $293. And out of the HGDP, also livestock sector alone contributes almost 25% to the agriculture GDP. And there is the growth because if you look at the overall economic sector, economic growth, there is the certain plunges during the COVID and during the earthquake. But even in the other regular years, there has been a fluctuation of the growth in the economic growth per se. And if we look at the sector-wise in terms of agriculture, compared in the 10 years time, we see that the contribution of the agriculture, forestry and fisheries is declining. There's a crop and other fruits they are declining, but livestock sector is slowly emerging out. So the sector is growing, similarly fishery sector is growing, and then also the forestry sector is growing. So within the agriculture sector also that the contribution of different subsectors are changing in view of the current. Yeah. Okay. So now coming to the agriculture trade scenario, we have seen that in the recent year that there has been the overall trade deficit in the country, and so is the case with the agriculture trade deficit also. If you compare with the import-export scenario, we mostly import cereals because most of the fine rice and the industrial maize are imported. Similarly, there's a lot of vegetable and pulses, they are imported, and very few of them are exported as well. There's meat and fish products, which are also largely imported. But tea, coffee, and large cardamom are the commodities that are being exported. Similarly, we have dairy products that is both import and very minimal export. Now the demand for the dog chew food we call hard cheese, so demand for that one is increasing, and then also the fresh and dried ginger products. So these are some of the commodities which have export potential, but there are a lot of commodities that we still import. And despite this export, the production, but there is still a food trade balance in Nepal, and which is growing in the recent years. So that has been a concern, and for this growing food deficit, what we have increasing import and reducing and diminishing export. So this needs to be somehow balanced, and any investment opportunities, in these sectors which can help boost our economy and facilitate our export would be something that is under our priority. Next slide, please. Next, okay. So if we look at the when we look at the trade scenario as well, this is the data from 2017-18, and if we see that here, in terms of import also, China is the fourth largest importer for Nepal, and also if we look at the export also, China is the fifth export destination of Nepal. This is the scenario of 2017-18, but the scenario has been changed now in terms of the agriculture. Limited trade basket. One of our concern is that there is a limited trade basket and limited trade destinations, and because of a lot of trade restrictions, this SPS and other NTB non-technical barriers, we are not able to do much in the trade front. Next, please. Next, okay. So when we look at the Nepal-China trade relations, also iterated in our inaugural remark, we have both the countries have enjoyed trading relations since ancient times, and we continue to experience an annual increase in the trade volume. But if we look at the pictures of 2021-22 fiscal year, China is Nepal's second largest trading partner. So it shows that there's an increasing potential opportunities for the growth in bilateral trade. However, Nepal has a very substantial trade deficit with China, and that's a concern, because despite the proximity, despite our close ties, bilateral trade has not progressed much as anticipated. This is not only with the agriculture, but I'm talking about the general trade per se. So export to China in 2021-22 fiscal year was 0.3% of the total trade of Nepal in the last fiscal year. So and import is mostly 99.7% is the import. That means we're very nominally exporting, and the deficit is really growing high. Because 15% of the overall trade between Nepal and China, only 15% happens from the land port and mostly from the other routes. So we have some border, and our mechanism is there, but still we're not able to utilize it to the maximum to use this facility. For example, the Rasua and Tatopani custom point, which are the operational custom points for inland trade between Nepal and China, it contributes very marginally to the overall bilateral trade. The recent data shows that it's only 1.39% from Rasua and 0.73% from Tatopani that takes place from the overall our trade scenario. So this is one area where the collaboration is going on. There's a development of the ICD, and other ports are being developed. ICD, ICPs are being developed, and other infrastructure facilities also need to be in place so that we can have the more smooth trade from those land ports as well. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So when we talk about why to invest in Nepal, because as I understand it, there are a lot of potential investors that has an interest to invest in the country. So if you look at the country, we see that 57% of our working age population, we have 57% of working age about from 15 to 59 years of population. Compared to the other countries, we have low cost of labor. Nepal has been member of several regional agreements and global agreements like SAARC, BIMSTEC, WTO, etc. We have the bilateral agreements also. For example, we have BIPA, the Bilateral Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement with 5 countries. And then also double taxation avoidance system with several countries. And there are others, right? Policies are also in places, and a lot of private sector friendly laws and policies are there. And not go into the details, and also there's some repatriation mechanism is there. So these are the facilitating, enabling environment to invest in Nepal, and also there are a lot of trade facilities, trade logistic facilities are in place. If you look at the custom services, also Nepal has 36 main custom offices, and out of that 9 is in. Next slide, please. Sorry. Okay, so 9 customs points are in China border with 2 international airport and custom office in Kathmandu. So that means the trade agreement with China allows 6 border crossing points for us, and the transit agreement has opened up 4 seaports and 3 diports for the transit cargo. Similarly, there are this quarantine offices as well in the Chinese side and then there is freight forward services are there in the country. There's trucking services are there. And then in terms of this digitalization also, we have this Asikuda, and then other operational mechanisms are there. ECT, this trade tracking system is there. And so, and also in terms of the trade, we have single window trade portal, national single window is there. So these are the facilities, these logistics really help for the investors to, when they have this investment in the country, and how the transaction of the commodities and the exchange of the money and other information takes places, that these kind of facilities definitely help them to have an enabling environment. And also we have recently approved this trade logistics policies, and they have several mechanisms in place where Nepal would further like to invest in those infrastructures to facilitate the trade and ultimately the investment in the country. Next slide, please. Okay. Just to give an illustration of the custom map of Nepal, you can see that in Nepal, there are a lot of custom points, both in the China side and India side. But if you look at the agriculture, from the agriculture perspective, in Timure, the Geelong of China side, there is animal quarantine checkpost. We have plant quarantine office and food import export quality certification offices there. Similarly, in Tatopani, Sindhupalchok, the Jangmu port, there is also all the three: our animal quarantine checkpost, plant quarantine office, and food import export quality certification office are there. But another, the Nechu Lichung port of Lomangthang, Mustang district, there is only plant quarantine office, and other two, animal quarantine and other food quality certification office are not in place. In country, we have two accredited laboratories under DFTPC. One is at the Central Reference Laboratory, and another is in our eastern part in Biratnagar. We have accredited laboratories. Certain parameters have been accredited by NABL India. And similarly, we have the seed lab under the SQCC. There is vaccine producing laboratories under Department of Livestock Services. So through these facilities, that existing facilities, and where many of those laboratories are being strengthened, they are being upgraded, and a lot of other parameters are being introduced in the certification system. So this will definitely help to help in trade facilitation as per se. And if you look at the major policies and regulations in the country, there has been several policies, including agro-business promotion policies there. We have agriculture development strategies, long-term strategy, that one of the main goal is also to facilitate the trade, to enhance the trade competitiveness in the agriculture sector. We have agriculture mechanization policy. After this policy, a lot of mechanization is happening in the country. We have custom hiring system in place, and the mechanization, which was earlier limited only to the planting operation, is now under the value chain itself. A lot of this is happening throughout various projects, and also by the different governments, from the provincial and local government as well. We have the fertilizer policy, and also there's a national safety policy. Next, please. And also there's some commodities specific, sector specific policy also. We have national tea policy, coffee policy, dairy development policy. There are few, I'm naming few of them. There's the floriculture promotion policy, there's agroforestry policy. So a lot of these policies support for the enabling, the support for facilities and incentives to the industry, to the producers. And there is one health strategy, mostly from the perspective of safe food approach, safe environment, safe health purpose. And then there is a trade policy and national trade integration strategy. And the national trade integration strategy now, recently revised also. And then we have a revised trade policy also. And for the commodity specific example, for the seed business, seed production and trading business, we have seed acts, seed regulations, and national seed visions. So these seed policy related policies and regulations, they basically aim to promote and regulate the seed business. We have recently given license to 3 private sectors for the research and production of this hybrid seeds. So this is a very recent initiative, and we are into giving these licenses to the other private sector also. At the same time, we're also enhancing their capacity in terms of their lab facilities, in terms of providing them the exposure and some of the breeding materials as well. There is Plant Protection and Quarantine Act. This is recently revised act, and also has plant protection rules. So basically, this is related with the IPPC for the sanitary and phytosanitary purpose, from related to the plant and plant-based product. So this is for whether for the imports of the commodities, import-export of the commodities or inputs, and this is the primary act that regulates. We have Pesticide Act and pesticide rules. There's how the pesticide registration, formulation, standard monitoring, various activities comes under this under purview of these regulations. We have Food Act and food regulations. So this is basically for the following the Codex principle, and our many standards are set based on the Codex. There's a standard committee that decides on those export committee and import-export, and also certifies the quality of this commodities. And then there is Animal Health and Livestock Service Act, basically relates with the standard regulation, monitoring, and both trade and domestic production, movement, import, export, etc., related with the livestock and livestock production. livestock products. We have Feed Act. Similarly, there's Environmental Protection Act, Aquatic Protection Act. So several acts, they have both the regulatory mechanism as well as some of the acts also support for the promotion of those commodities for the easy facilitation investment and also for the regulation. And we have Industrial Act, where agriculture and forestry-based industry has been under the national priority industry. And there's a certain incentive for those national priority industries, especially for the agriculture and forestry-based. And we have Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act. So this is the there's been earlier this act had prohibited some of the sectors in agriculture which were prohibited for the investment, for the FDI. Those were primarily in the primary production sector, primary agriculture production sector. But there was, with the recent amendment, some of the direct investment in some of the primary agriculture activities were also open, but because of some concerns, from the citizens, the amendment, this is currently under temporary hold by the Supreme Court. But other than the primary sector, there is the FDI in agriculture processing sector has been welcomed, and that is facilitated by the FITA Act. Next, please. Yeah. So now if you look at the potential investment sector, I will broadly categorize them into the niche agriculture products because many of those products are already exported, but we have realized that it requires more investment in terms of scaling up the production, processing, post-harvest, branding, and marketing. So this is one area for the commodities. Another area is the sector could be the commodities where the emerging export, the export is now emerging, it's growing. For example, hard cheese, because this in the niche product where tea, coffee, the cardamom, ginger, they are being exported for quite some time. But if you look at the scale, the volume, this is still very low. But this hard cheese, which is exported as the dog chew, imported by various countries. So so there is a potential to enhance investment in this sector, especially, and also in the vegetables and bone meals, which are now slowly growing. The export is growing for them. Another is could be in the area where there is the increasing import trend for the particular commodities, such as the seeds, cereals, and the other vegetable seeds. Vaccines, we import a lot of vaccines, animal feeds, similarly pesticide, processed food. So these are largely imported. So investment in these sectors, particularly in the research and development, in quality enhancement, and that could be an area, broad area for the investment. And similarly, the tissue culture plants, agriculture machineries, which are in place. So the investment is also could be the potential area because the sector is not really growing, and not much investment is coming there from the private sector. Another potential area could be the laboratory services, various kind of laboratories and testing and certification facilities, vaccine production facilities, other greenhouse facilities. So these are some of the area where not much private sectors are coming, and the government facilities are not enough to cater the demand of the clients. Another could be linkage with the agro-tourism sector. So when we talk about the agro-tourism, maybe the investment needs to be in the value chain, right? Not only from the tourism purpose, but also connecting them with the local producers and in bringing the products to the tourism sector. So that way it boosts the economy of the region as well, the community as well. Other potential area could be the agro-based industries. So that may be like organic fertilizer, because we import most of the chemical fertilizer, and we have very limited organic fertilizer plants in the country. So, but there's a growing demand, and also from the sustainability perspective, from the health perspective, the demand for the organic agriculture is going up. So this kind of investment in the agro-based industries, slaughterhouse, medicinal herbs, so this could be other areas. And recently, under the FAO hand-in-hand investment, Nepal had identified 4 areas for the investment that has investment opportunity, and there is an investment plan also prepared for those commodities. So basically, highland potato, large cardamom, ginger, and Sichuan pepper. So those 4 commodities has been identified and was also presented during the meeting, investment initiative meeting also. And because the investment sector, because we have very added advantage due to the geographical dividend also. We have highland coffee and then tea from the Himalayan. So that way also there is a scope of marketing our producers. So any investment in these sectors would be really helpful for growing the economy of the country. If you look at the hand-in-hand investment, just to give you a brief insight on, like ginger, timur, this Sichuan pepper, highland potato, and large cardamom. So how these four has been, because a lot of analysis was done in terms of the rate of return, how these four commodities are potential for the bringing high income generation to the community, how they are environment friendly in terms of carbon sequestration. So on various parameters, those were prioritized. And apart from them, as I mentioned earlier, also that is a tea, coffee, and which has been growing. The sector is growing, and there are many of these commodities are exported to the European and America and Japan, those markets, to these countries. We have not been able to penetrate much of the China market, I think, in terms of tea. Our tea producing associations and our tea manufacturing industries, they are trying to export many of these commodities, tea to the specialty tea to China as well. So there is the scope of enhancing the manufacturing sector, maybe by identifying other destination markets, enhancing the laboratory facilities, and auction center, establishing and operating this auction center, which has been there in talk, but then not really happening, and also the tasting center for the tea, and then accreditation laboratory. So these are some of the areas where we need to invest, and probably this could be potential area. In terms of coffee also, there is a coffee exported to the Europe, USA, and Japan, and we need to have processing industries along with the brandings. There are some, but there is another area, potential area. And one of the promising sector is medicinal and aromatic herbs. A lot of these medicinal aromatic herbs are also exported to China and also to India, but many of them are traded raw. So and to some European and other countries, we have some processed medicinal herbs and aromatic herbs are also exported, like essential oils, some of the processed product, but that is in a very low proportion compared to the overall trade. So investment on particularly processing and manufacturing for those herbs would be one area, and also the laboratory facilities for the quality certification is also another area where once we have those facilities in place, I think the investment in these areas can trigger the trade to other destination and more of the value added products. There is a fruits, including citrus, is also good potential commodities here. We have already signed protocol with the Tibet Autonomous Region from China government, and some of the SPS concerns that were in the agreement, we've been working on that one. Excuse me, sorry, the slide is not moving. I think maybe you can just go to next slide. Okay. So in terms of the citrus, we have realized that there is not enough cold storages and treatment facilities in the country. There's no very few packing facilities. So investment on cold storage, packing facilities, treatment facilities, and transportation mechanism. So if this could be in place, I think we can definitely enhance our production. While in the SPS side, in the production side, we're working closely with the local government and farmers. And in terms of the this technical cooperation, if we can receive the technical cooperation from the government in some of those sectors also, that will help to boost our production. And other potential sectors are investment in the laboratories and its accreditation, basically to facilitate trade focusing on the key export. For example, coffee, tea, again, horticulture crops, livestock, meat and meat products, and dairy products, and investment in the agriculture machineries that could be in the area of manufacturing, assembling, and after sales services in the package. Because a lot of agriculture machineries are imported, and many of them are imported from China again. So if we can have those machineries produced here, that can have a more we can also save a lot of our foreign exchange in terms of that. And when we talk about the issues and challenges, because there are some of the sectors that have been identified, and then If you look at the challenges, issues and challenges, we know that we have a very small land holdings, there's small farmers, and there is a scattered production. So when we talk about the industry, there is the challenges in the aggregation, and also the challenges to have the consistent quality, because the small producer, different producers producing, the quality may not be uniform. And also sometimes there is an issue of the assured supply, because when the individual farmers we need to connect with the individual farmers. Sometimes there's a issue of the assured supply of the raw materials for the industry. So that is one area. And another is because our agriculture sector is largely informal, so it's very difficult to, and also there is a lack of proper data on how much of the production, and to estimate to have the correct estimate of the production and the volume in the market. So because of that is also sometimes the industry faces the regular raw material supply. Also, there's the issue of the high cost production, because many of our agriculture system, it's still dependent on the external inputs, be it fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, or be it the hybrid seeds. So because of that, also the cost of production is higher, and there is a connectivity challenges, both the physical connectivity and other challenges, and adoption of technology. We're still not have been able to use the latest technology in terms of production or post-harvest operations. So that is also a challenge that adds up to the cost and higher input cost and overall low productivity of the sector. Because of all this, the cost of production is higher, and because of that, we're less competitive in the global market. And there is a higher transportation and trade cost. That is another.
Ma'am, you have got muted. Please unmute yourself.
But I'm not muted.
No, it's perfect. Now we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So there's minimal linkage with the because many of our domestic industry, agro-based industries, they source their raw materials from abroad because of the challenges I mentioned earlier. So the linkages between the agricultural production and the agro-based industries is very minimal. So because of that, there's sometimes the issue of the market price, sometimes the market glut, there's a lot of production but no market, sometimes there's a less price, and demand and supply issues. So those are there. And also there's an issue of the land holding rights, because when we somebody, anyone wants to invest or establish an industry, and for the land also, it is because government lands are not sufficient. And when we want to have lease the private lands, then there's the issue of this tenure and ownership issues are there. Sometimes after investing also, there's a breach of the contract between the farmers and between the owners and the tenants. So that is also one area. And similarly, the higher land cost and increasing labor cost, although labor costs compared to other countries are still less, but this is growing. And then also labor shortages, we have faced that many of our youths are migrating, and then because of that, the labor shortage especially in the production center, many of our land remains fallow because we don't have the people in working really in the agriculture sector. So that has been one of the growing concerns these days. And in totality, there's access to finance and interest rate for the producer and processor. That has been also issues that the private sector are less reluctant to invest in this sector. And in terms of logistics also, we have transportation sector is growing, but still it is less competitive transport sector. There's low service quality by the operators, and low opportunities for the economy of scale for the transport industry also, because of, again, the smaller producers and the scattered production. So there's not a scale of economy for the transport business also. And then there's no common user warehouse facilities, and there is lack of regional agriculture storage for the produce. So and the cold chain facilities that are normally required for the storage of the perishable products. And that is also, there are the cold chain facilities, but sometimes they are not in the appropriate places. And also when the storage facilities are there, they are inefficient because of the high cost of operation of those cold storage facilities. There's older technology, and there's lack of trained manpower in the sector. So it's difficult to have the quality materials, or even in the cold store. And then there's lack of integration with the market and farmers. So not many of these cold storage facilities are not utilized, although government has been providing 50% subsidy to the electricity for those cold storage facilities. This has recently been withdrawn, but until a month back, this mechanism was there. The government subsidy was there. There's a loss of, because of this also, there's a lot of agriculture fresh product after harvest are lost almost 20 to 60%. Next slide, please. And then information system, they are not available in one place, because when we talk about the information related with the production or related with the regulations, the formalities that we, as an investor, that they need to have that in the one window system, that is not there. And laboratory and testing facility, we have many, our government facilities are there, and some private facilities, private labs are also there. But because many of these labs are not accredited or not identified, recognized by the government, we are not able to have the quality services available. The testing facilities are delayed because of that, and sometimes the transaction are issue. And then again, whichever labs we have, there is sometimes the issue of the mutual recognition by the importing countries. So that is the one area where the technical cooperation is what we need to enhance and strengthen our laboratory capacities and to enhance their credibility. And then, of course, the land locked and dependent on those land transit that has been there, but how we can utilize it and also come out from this political instability. Sometimes because of that, there's a policy consistency is missing and continuity of the policies, and that is also sometimes an issue that are faced by the private sector. So this is general issues and challenges that investors normally face in the country. But despite those challenges, because a lot of the government has been friendly towards this public-private partnership modality. Also, a lot of investment policies, investment-related policies are favoring the private sector investment. So the good potential of these policies and various measures are there. So while sharing about our agriculture scenario and what are the existing facility and issue and challenges, my last slide would be on what could be the potential area of support from the People's Republic of China for the trade facilitation. Although we have been talking about a lot of those trade facilitation mechanisms during various bilateral mechanisms, bilateral trade mechanisms that are in place. But we definitely need technical assistance in the certification of quality, quarantine labs, and good manufacturing practices, this training and in various subsectors. Similarly, facilitating the export of various Nepali products such as silage grass, because this silage agreement, we have recently signed this agreement, and we're now almost towards the end of recommending these to China government so that they can be exported. But again, in terms of having the quality, inspection by the Chinese team, and that is where we need the cooperation from the government side. Also with the medicinal herbs, because most of our medicinal herbs are not farmed, but they are harvested. So are sustainably harvested, and how they are processed and packed. That is also the area where the technical cooperation can help to maintain the quality. Then there are other areas where the processed beverages, where fruits, processed or cooked buffalo meat to China. So these are the potential commodity that we have been in negotiation, in discussion with the Chinese side very frequently. But because of the SPS and TBT issues, for example, the buffalo meat to China, there's the issue of foot and mouth disease. So how best the Chinese government can help us with, donation of the area and declaring those donation area as the disease-free area, where from that the meat can be exported. So maybe this is one area where we can get their support, and assisting in registering the Nepali products with the GACC, because this had been new regulation by the government of China, and our exporters are finding it difficult to access and to register themselves in the GACC procedure and enhance the trainings, the trade. So this is one area where the discussion and dialogues can facilitate. Next slide, please. Okay. Another could be in the assistance for the establishment of multifunctional laboratories at the border, because we have this ICP under construction in Timure, in Geelong area also. So if there is the support from the Chinese government on the multifunctional lab, which meets the many requirements of the Chinese side, test those parameters that are mandatory for exporting to China. If there is technical assistance this side, I think that will definitely help to further enhance our trade. And that on other technical cooperation area could be in the disease surveillance, in the trainings, study visits, and expert meets similarly, these kind of webinars also where they can have a common dialogue between the government entities, between the private sector from both the side, so that many of those issues or the clarity needed that can be discussed and sorted in those kind of webinars also. So maybe if there are many of the webinars happening, maybe our officials can regularly participate in those kind of events, and that will help to facilitate our knowledge and to have a common understanding. And also, of course, for the participants in virtual training seminar that I just mentioned, and policy discussion, etc., for the larger participation and knowledge sharing. So these are potential areas where I think when the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing and the NICE and other private sector can facilitate, and especially in terms of receiving the technical support, we look up to the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing as well to have those coordination and collaboration with the concerned Chinese officials in the days to come. So as of now, I'll stop here, and if there are some questions, I'll be ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sabnam Siwakoti, for your wonderful presentation. May I now invite Dr. Dhananjay Regmi. Dr. Dhananjay Regmi is CEO at Nepal Tourism Board and is an eminent mountain hemorphologist and glaciologist. He is specialized in environmental science from renowned institutions abroad and has spent many years researching in Nepali Himalayas. Dr. Regmi has successfully led Nepal's tourism board during COVID crisis, and he is devoted and committed in driving Nepal's tourism towards a sustainable future. Dr. Regmi will be speaking on Nepal's tourism opportunities. So over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. So let me share my screen. I think 5-star hotels or the resorts. So this is one possibility. Another, the Tinjure Milke area nearby. It is the one area where you can find the largest number of the rhododendron, and this is the time. When they are which can be. There is one place like Taj Mahal in India, and in Nepal also we have a Rani Mahal. It is very close to the Lumini airport, around 2-hour drive from there. So from this area and the nearby, these river activities can be done here. So this is also the place where one can come and invest. There are some untouched area, you can say, in the far western Khaptad area, which is around 3,000-meter altitude. There is a lot of possibility of investment. People travel there. There are no facilities, accommodation facilities, so people are suffering. But if somebody want to invest, even the province government, local government, and the central government is looking for the investment in these areas. Similarly, there are the number of homestays that are there. But if you want to come and invest making like a Chinese homestay style, some you can invest even on that, giving experience of the Chinese mixed culture, Nepal, and that can be a kind of a cultural exchange. So there is some possibility in every homestay. You can go and put 1 or 2 Chinese style small huts and give some some sort of Chinese cultural things. You can show that and give the experience. So that is also some part where you can invest together with the people. And about the food industry, I have already talked. So these are the something, and when you invest, I think there are so many things that people can do. This is about that. So another is the nightlife in Nepal. We have a wonderful, now the new clubs are coming up. We have an LOD club in Kathmandu, which became one of the best popular destination among the South Asia. So there is a lot of opportunity to invest on this. Even the casinos that Nepal is known for the casinos. We have more than 20 casinos in Nepal. If you are interested in investing on the casinos, that is okay. So, tourism become a kind of a very big source of remittance for Nepal. So, source of income for foreign currency for Nepal. So, government, I think, is very much positive to attract the foreign investment. So, if you, and you can see that, Europe and Americans, here I have said that the 4 priority areas of the people coming from the different part of the world. So, Nepal being between the India and China, if we focus more on what the Indian or the Chinese people are looking for, then maybe if we invest on, especially on that sector, that is going to, I think that is going to give a good benefit. Especially if you look at the India, they are the people who are traveling mostly on the weekdays to Nepal. So special focus on the border, cross-border tourism. So whatever you develop, like the casinos, big hotels along the border area, that is going to be helpful. Another, they are mostly on the entertainment or the religious areas. That is the another part, and the soft activities. But if you look at the Chinese market, they don't like the very hard, tough trekking or the high mountain activities. They like a 1-day hike, 2-day hike, is a soft adventure, or the mid hills and the sunny luxury trips and cultural tours they are more interested in. So for these, the interest of the Indian and Chinese people, I think the mid hills is the right place. So here I am showing you some of the red this squares. So this shows the potential area where the one can invest. For example, from China, so far, for the Indians, especially focusing on the Indian, if you look at almost almost half of the population of whole India is living within the 500 kilometer of Nepal border. So if we focus, if we develop the infrastructure in these points, which are really good, because they have a flat areas, and there is a lot of the government land as well, which can be leased out. And so there are the, if I name, maybe nobody knows, but that is the Ilam Kannam. Another is the second one from the right is Hile. Third one is comes to Sindhuligadi. Four, it's Bagmati is the Kathmandu, leave it. And the down is the this called Indra Sarovar area or Marku area. Similarly, Srinagar area. Then it goes to Norpani in Argakhanchi, and then between the Karnali and Nepalganj, there is a place called Harre and the Khani Dada in the far west. So these are the places that has a lot of huge potentiality, and in between Nepal and India, people can enter from 27 points. So if we really make some do investment, then I think there is a huge potentiality, and obviously that is going to be a worth investment, and people can get their return very soon. But the only thing is we need to have some support from the government for the land pooling and making and developing it as a hill station. And the government given a prioritize, and even in their budget, they have the government come up with the concept of the hill station development. So I think the government is also going to putting a lot of effort on that. So there is the private sector come up with the investment that is going to help to develop this area. At the same time, whoever invests, they will make the good profit. That is what. And these kind of activities can be put on these 7 or 8 points that I have shown before. Hiking, swimming pool. So we find the 18 type of the activities can be developed there, and China is good on investing that type of activities. Doing so, we can attract the millions of people from India, especially from the border areas. People can drive because they have a very good roads until the Nepal border, and inside the Nepal border also now we have a good road to go up to these places. So looking at the road accessibility, I'm not talking about the flight connectivity, flight things, but these can be done. And along the border, we have a number of very good airports in the Indian side, so that from different states, they can fly there and can drive to Nepal. That is one part. Another part is we have a small airports along the border from where we are connecting to the Pokhara or to Kathmandu. So that is also what we can, if we can, invest a lot, then we can think about do a regional flights between Bangladesh and eastern part of Nepal in Birtamod or somewhere. So there can be a connectivity develop, and at the same time, the whole Indian trunk railway is going along the border, from where also we can bring the people. So there is a huge, market and lot of so what you can do is in the recreational theme park can be done. Ethnographic museum can be developed because a lot of diversity, as I told. In number of places, cable cars can be, are needed because it takes a lot of time to go there. If you invest on the cable cars, you can make a lot of money. There is a botanical parks, potentiality of having these botanical parks. International Conventional Hall, now we have in Kathmandu, and one in Lumbini, but we still need in the Pokhara and other cities. So this is also some very big, and heritage chain hotels, as I told before. we don't have a film city actually. Government is very much happy to have a film city ready to give a land, but someone is needed to come and invest on that. Airlines also, there is a possibility, because on Nepal Airlines we don't have much airlines, and Nepal has a very poor connectivity with the different part of the world. So there is a investment can become in the airline sector also. And Namaste Center, a kind of a tourist information centers, or the these facility centers are there. So these things can be the one where the people can invest. So, well, one of the picture of this visit of Chinese president to Nepal in October 2019. And when he visited, he said that Nepal is one of the favorite destinations for the Chinese people. It is, or in actual, what he said is, Chinese people like Nepal the most in whole Asian countries. So his statement itself is enough that obviously the activities, the hospitality that Nepal shows, that really liked by the Chinese people. And if the Chinese investment come here, it is going to be safe, and they don't have to think more about, because the Chinese, the number of the increasing tourists from the China, they themselves is going to consume or going to use those facilities, and certainly the investment is going to be safe. And beside that, obviously, if we focus on the Indian market, that is also going to add up the benefits. So I think this is all what I want to show. So Nepal, most important part is Nepal is a destination. It is not only a mountain. It is there's a lot of other things. So it is a destination for everyone, for every age group, and for all seasons. So saying so, I think I should finish my presentation. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Regmi. Thank you so much for your presentation. May I now invite Professor Long Singsun. Professor Long Singsun is president of Chengdu Institute of World Affairs and professor of School of International Relations at Sichuan International Studies University. He is also adjunct senior fellow at the Chahar Institute in Beijing and adjunct senior fellow of the Academy of Regional and Global Governance under Beijing Foreign Studies University. He received his master's in international relations from Institute of South Asian Studies, Sichuan University, obtained his PhD in international relations from Beijing Foreign Studies University. He was visiting scholar at Johns Hopkins University from 2011 to 12 in US, at Department of International Relations, the University of Colombo, Sri Lanka in 2016, senior visiting fellow at S. Radharatnam School of International Studies, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore in 2018. Professor Long, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Perlmutter. We meet each other several years ago. We have not meet each other about 3 or 4 years. Very happy to meet you here. Thank you very much for Nepal Embassy and the ambassador invited me to join this webinar to discuss about China-Nepal relations and China-Nepal cooperation. So first time I have been to Nepal is 2018, about 5 years ago. So I hope that this year or maybe the future we can visit Nepal again and to meet more Nepali friends, and we can talk face to face. So we share this, so everybody can can watch this. The topic of my presentation is to promote the education cooperation between China and Nepal in various forms. And Nepal is a very important neighbor of China, and we know Nepal government always pursue friendly policy to China. And in 2019, Chinese President Xi Jinping paid a historic visit to Nepal, which has given great boost to the development of China-Nepal relations. With the advancement of Belt and Road Initiative, China-Nepal cooperation has huge potential. As we know, in 2015, during the Indian Prime Minister Modi's visit to China, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for China and India together to help Nepal for post-earthquake disaster reconstruction and explore the possibility to establish China, Nepal, India economic corridor, just like many other economic corridors between China and the neighboring countries. At that time, India said respond positively, and however, Indian side keep the action very negative and even create some obstacles for China-Nepal cooperation. So no matter we can still, China-Nepal can take steps ahead and waiting for India's involvement. And now we know that China and Nepal are preparing for the construction of railways, the cross-border railway. If the railway, from Kathmandu to Lhasa, if the railway completed, it will surely inject strong impetus to the comprehensive cooperation between two countries to turn the huge potential of China-Nepal cooperation into realistic cooperation results. I think for the cooperation, a large number of talent people, educated people are needed to participate in the cooperation. So I can share some experience of education promote economic cooperation from China. The Chinese government always keep the government of China highlights education, compulsory education, vocational education, and higher education. China's education system trained millions of technicians and engineers each year, so who make great contribution to China's building of infrastructure and industry. So therefore, in my opinion, education cooperation should be placed an important position in China-Nepal cooperation. So that's my topic. We have some suggestions or personal ideas. First, to achieve effective cooperation between China and Nepal in the field of education, we can consider the following three aspects. Firstly, we should continue encouraging Nepalese students to study in China. At present, China-Nepal education cooperation mainly include two parts. One is that Nepalese students are studying in China, and the other is that China has set up two Confucius Institute in Nepal. And the number of Nepalese students in China is less than 10,000, most of whom are majoring in medicine and Chinese language. And I have met some Nepalese students in China. Recent years, many of them have studied. There's also some Nepalese students in China studying practical skills in vocational and technical schools. However, compared to other Asian countries, the number of Nepalese students in China is relatively small. According to the statistics by Ministry of Education of China in 2018, the number of Mongolian students studying in China is about 10,000, ranking to 14th among the top 15 countries, while Nepalese students did not enter into the top 15. Mongolia has only, the population has only population of just 3 million population, 3 million population. Nepal, the population is about 30 million. So the Nepalese population is about 10 times of Mongolia. But the Nepalese students, Mongolian students in China is about 10,000, much more than Nepalese students in China. So therefore, the growth of potential of Nepalese students to China is still very large. We can attract and encourage more Nepalese students to study in China's universities. And I think China and Nepal the government should create more conditions to help more deported students study in China. In addition to the China Scholarship Council provide scholarship for foreign students to study in China. Every urban province in China and many universities also have set some relevant scholarship. So the government and some other institutions between China and Nepal, we should have more information provided to deported students to help them apply scholarship from Chinese government or Chinese universities that can support the study in China. And in addition to general undergraduate students and postgraduate education, young Nepalese students should be vigorously encouraged to receive vocational and technical education and learn practical skills in China. That will help the career in Nepal and also contribute to the economic development of Nepal. And the second one, my suggestion is that the two countries should encourage inter-university cooperation between China and Nepalese universities. We know that Chinese universities established various forms inter-university cooperation with universities from many other countries. In terms of talent training, there are several models such as 2+2 and 3+1 models. Such similar cooperation can also be carried out between China and Nepal. For example, for Nepali students studying in Nepali universities, they can, and also at the same time they can study Chinese languages for 2 years in Nepal, and then go to China for another 2 years or 1 year study in Chinese universities. So they can obtain diplomas both from China and Nepal universities. So this kind of model is very common in China between Chinese universities and American universities, Japan and Singapore, very common in China. So I suggest that such a kind of cooperation model should be carried out between China and Nepal. And in addition to the increased number of international students and improve the training model, universities can also promote faculty exchanges and scientific research cooperation. Because in China, the universities, the research equipment, the labs condition is much better than Nepal. And also there are so many excellent Nepalese teachers. So if the two countries' university cooperate, we can exchange faculties. For example, Chinese universities can invite teachers from Nepal as a visiting scholar or postdoctoral researcher in China. I know in some universities, in Sichuan, Lanchong, the Northern Sichuan Medical Universities, there are some Nepalese researchers, postdoctoral researchers. They cooperate with Chinese professors. Then they can co-author to publish articles on journals, because Nepalese faculties have the English advantages than most Chinese teachers. So they can cooperate and produce some very fruitful results. And I have another suggestion is that two countries can encourage and support Chinese universities to running across border school in Nepal. In China, there are so many branch campuses run by foreign universities, such as Duke University, American University, Duke University. They have a campus in Kunshan, Jiangsu province, and the New York universities have a branch campus in Shanghai, and the University Nottingham from the UK, they have another campus in Ningbo, Zhejiang province. At the same time, there's also some Chinese universities that have set up branch campus abroad, such as Xiamen universities in Malaysia, the University of International Business and Economics in Israel, Fudan University in Hungary, and Hainan University have a campus in Laos. Therefore, we should encourage Chinese universities, especially those in Southwest China, to set up branches in Nepal, such as Sichuan universities, Chongqing universities, Yunnan University, and also some other top universities in Southwest China. Such universities, the branches in Nepal, can both recruit Nepali students and Chinese students, and also some other international students, such as the students from India, from Southeast Asia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, or many other countries. This can not only promote the development of higher education in Nepal, but also promote the development of tourism, attract the students, the family members, parents to Nepal for the Quran and also for the travel in Nepal. And in addition to college and universities, vocational and technical education that now highlight in China. Chinese government provide subsidies for students to accept the vocational education. So vocational education should also be a focus of China-Nepal cooperation, given the needs of Nepal economy and social development. Firstly, my suggestion is that Chinese vocational and technical colleges can support the vocational college in Nepal. And secondly, we should encourage Chinese vocational schools to open branch school in Nepal to cultivate the students of Nepal. They are very common now. Many Chinese vocational schools go abroad to set branches in other countries. So I think we can set some in Nepal. At the same time, we know this year in Hainan Island, Hainan province, they have a new vocational school. It is a branch by German vocational school. German vocational school have a branch in China's Hainan province. So that's the cross-border, cross-national schools, colleges, universities, vocational schools we can have between China and Nepal. And I can give another suggestion, because given China scholarship cannot meet all students of Nepal to study in China. And many Nepali students, the family cannot afford the tuition and other related stipends cost for the study in China. So I suggest that two countries, China and Nepal government, should establish a training system. We can also call them training program or work study program. This kind of system so support more Nepali students to study in China. There are so many good examples. In 1980s, Japan introduced the training system, which attract young people from China and many other East Asia countries to train and work in Japan, which not only provide low cost of labors to Japan, but also provide training and earning opportunities for workers from China and East Asia countries. Now, everybody knows China's birth rate is declining and is entering an aging stage. As a result, the relatively labor shortage has led to the transfer of many labor-intensive industries out of China. So if the training system or worker study program runs successfully between China and Nepal, it can provide Nepalese young young Nepalese to China to learn and train to get training in China and obtain the income through work. On the other hand, it can also make up the shortage of China's labor shortage to some extent. So maybe now we don't have such system, but we can do that. I can give some good example of work study program. About 100 years ago, Premier Zhou Enlai, Mr. Deng Xiaoping, and former Chinese Foreign Minister Marshal Chen Yi, they joined the work study program in France. Then they started work in France, then come back to China, become great leader of China. So very successful. There are also many good examples in the world between China and other countries. So that's my personal view and my suggestion to China and Nepal. We can apply some program, some concrete program, some practical program that support and promote China-Nepal education program that can benefit both for China and Nepal. So this is my presentation today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Dr. Pramod.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Singh Sun. Thank you so much for your remarks. May I now invite Dr. Huang Chendu. Dr. Huang Chendu is Associate Professor of South Asian Economy at Institute of South Asian Studies and Director of Nepal Study Center, Sichuan University of China. His academic experience includes visiting a scholar researcher in School of Advanced Studies, Johns Hopkins University, and the range of research and expertise cover the relations between China and South Asian countries, South Asian economy. He holds a PhD in world economy at Sichuan University and presently is the director of Nepal Study Center, as I mentioned earlier. He is the author of 3 books and dozen of research papers. Dr. Huang Chendu will be speaking on Belt and Road Initiative. Dr. Wang, over to you.
Yes, I'm here. Okay. Thank you, Professor Keshwar, my old friend. Respected ambassador, Nepalese ambassador to China, and other distinguished delegates and participants, and thank you so much for Nepalese Embassy and LICE to invite me for this webinar. And today, my topic, my presentation, the topic of my presentation is China-Nepal economic and trade cooperation under BRI. And there are 4 parts in my presentation. And the first is about the status quo of China-Nepal's economic and trade cooperation. And the number 1, China-Nepal bilateral trade volumes rise rapidly, while the trade imbalance was also a problem. We can see the bilateral trade volumes only $127 million in 2003. And please turn to the yes. And it reaches the 2.3 billion in 2014, the highest in history. The trade volumes in 2020 only 168 billions. The trade balance was also a problem. China has been in a surplus position, and 90% of total bilateral trade being from China to Nepal. Here is the table. The table is the China-Nepal bilateral trade volumes from the 2003 to 2020. Please turn to the next page. The table. Yes, please look at this table. in 2014, the volumes between China and Nepal reached more than $2 billion. It is the highest in the history. But you can see the next 2015 because of the earthquake. So the trade volumes decrease sharply. And please turn to the next. In 2017, because of the sign between China and Nepal, signed the BRI, so the trade volume increased gradually. But in 2020, because of the epidemic, because of the COVID-19, so the trade volume also be affected severely. And the next, we can see the scale of China-Nepal trade is small, but the potential is great. We can compare the trade volumes between China, Nepal, and with China and other South Asian countries. We can see China-India bilateral trade was more than 130 billion in 2020. And the trade volumes between China and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka is also much higher than the trade volumes between China and Nepal. In last year, in 2020, the China-Nepal bilateral trade was only more than $1 billion. So the potential between these two countries is great. And next, we will talk about the China-Nepal bilateral trade is complementary, though the trade structure needed to be further optimized. The export commodity from China to Nepal are mainly high-value added products, while those from Nepal to China are mainly raw materials and primary processed products. So China-Nepal trade is highly complementary. In the trade between Chinese provinces and Nepal differ greatly. Tibet takes up last share in the total trade with Nepal in 2014. The amount almost reached $2 billion in 2014, account for more than 8% of the total Tibetan foreign trade and 85% of the total China-Nepal trade. However, the total trade between Tibet and Nepal was only 208 million in 2020, declined sharply. I think this is mostly because of the COVID-19. And the second part, I would like to talk about the developing opportunity in Sino-Nepalese economic and trade cooperation. In the first, there is a long people-to-people exchange history between China and Nepal. And China and Nepal enjoyed a 1,600 year history of interaction. Early in 399, Fashion, a revered monk in Eastern Qin dynasty, left Chang'an and pilgrimage to Lumbini, and the relations reached the most prosperous period in the 7th and 8th century with the visit of the Xuanzang in Tang dynasty and also in Yuan dynasty. Aranico, a famous Nepalese artist and craftsman, came to China and supervised the construction of white propaganda temple in Beijing. The Nepali princess Brikuti married Songzang Gambu, the founder of the Tibetan Empire. So, and I think the second good actors is good political relations between China and Nepal. Nepalese king and prime minister visited China many times. Premier Zhou Enlai visited Nepal twice. And I think recently the most important is that President Bannerman paid a state visit to China in 2019, and also the Chinese President Xi Jinping also paid a state visit to Nepal, also in 2019. So the mutual visit made the relations between the two countries standing at a low starting point. And the third, I think, is a good economic developing environment based on Nepal's gradually stable domestic political situation. And in 2015, Nepal promulgated a new constitution, and last year, Pratanja was elected as the Prime Minister of the new government in December. So under the leadership of the new government, Nepal is moving toward economic and social prosperity. So the economic development of Nepal required investments from the home and abroad. A stable and healthy investment environment can attract more domestic and foreign funds. And the fourth, the Belt and Road Initiative also can promote the two countries' trade and economic cooperation. The Belt and Road Initiative is a global infrastructure development strategy adopted by the Chinese government in 2013. Nepal signed the Belt and Road Cooperation memorandum with China in 2017 and officially joined the Belt and Road Initiative. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, and its achievement and prospects have become the focus of attention of the international community. As a respected Nepalese ambassador to China said before, the new international land-sea trade channel promotes the deep integration of transportation, logistics, and economic in countries along the routes. As a landlocked country, Nepal urgently leads to strengthen connectivity with China and other countries along the Belt and Road Initiative. And how does Nepal develop its economy? By taking advantage of the Belt and Road Initiative? I think the trade is an example. Trade cooperation rapidly. The trade rapidly increase in goods trade, whether the export trade, import trade, or total trade. The trade volumes in the 5 years after the proposal was proposed is increasing gradually. The Belt and Road Initiative has boosted the rapid development of China-Nepal trade in goods. I think after the COVID-19, the trade between China and Nepal will be recovered gradually. And next, we will talk about the investment cooperation, especially China is Nepal's largest source of foreign investment after the BRI. China's investment in Nepal has developed from the traditional hydropower infrastructure, Chinese herbal, the medicine processing, health foods, cements, and so on, to emerging fields such as the aviation and cross-border economic cooperation zone construction. Next, we tabled some, released some projects jointly constructed by the China and Nepal, such as the next, please turn to the next. Next, there are some projects jointly constructed by China and Nepal. The Upper Tamaxi hydropower station project, the Upper Trishuli 3A hydropower hydroelectric project, Upper Malisean hydropower hydroelectric project, the Red Line Hope Cement plant in the third phase of agricultural technology cooperation project in Nepal, the Kathmandu in the Ring Road project, the Himalaya Airlines illegal highway project. Yes, in the China-Nepal Friendship Industry Park, in the China-Nepal Cross-Border Economic Cooperation Zone, in the expansion of 4G network engineering project, in the China-Nepal Cross-Border Internet optical cable construction project. These are some of the main projects which was jointly constructed by China and Nepal. And next, we will talk about the tourism cooperation, the bigger highlights under the BRI. Since the Belt and Road Initiative was proposed, the number of Chinese tourists to Nepal has increased dramatically. And the Nepalese China Festival is a festival jointly organized by the Nepalese government and the Chinese embassy in Nepal. It is a cultural brand jointly created by China and Nepal, greatly deepening the cross-Himalayan friendship between these two countries. And the fourth, the collectivity promotes the cooperation in the fight against the epidemic. After the COVID-19, the land transport mechanism of the Belt and Road construction has played an important role. China was greatly affected. In Nepal provided moral and material support to China as the epidemic in Nepal becomes increasingly severe. China has provided medical supplies such as the protective equipment and masks to Nepal. And the third part I want to talk about the tactics for promoting Sino-Nepalese economic and trade cooperation in the future. The first is the strengthening infrastructure construction to encourage FDI and to enhance the industrial competitiveness. Nepal government could strengthen the consolidation of different political parties to ensure the political stability for the sake of sustainable economic development strategy and economic policy. Besides, she should sign the investment promotion and protection agreement with China and other countries so as to heighten other countries' confidence in Nepalese economy and social development and bring about more FDI. In terms of creating industrial patents, Nepal could make the most of her resources, superiority to give full play to their competitive advantage. And the second, we will talk about making the most of geographic advantage to enhance the development of a transit economy. Nepal is situated on one of vital communications lines between China and India. For many years, Nepal has been one of Tibet's major trading partner and the main channels of the Tibet and India transit trade. Thus, such a geographic advantage is her good strategic resources. In this year, third is I think strengthening the hydropower cooperation by exploiting the Nepalese rich water power resources. Nepal 4 major river systems are supposed to have hydropower reserves of 83 million kilowatts, but the ratio of the exploited part is still lower. If the hydropower resources are fully exploited, you can, in addition to meeting Nepal's demands on energy, be transported to China, India, and other countries. And then next, the strengthening the cooperation with Nepal in tourism. Just like Mr. Regman said, Nepal is endowed the unparalleled tourism resources historically and naturally, including unique natural sceneries and numerous cultural sceneries with deep historic heritages. And Lumbini has been deemed as a holy place by more and more Buddhists in the world. And in 2018, the visits of international tourists to Nepalese is more than 1 million. The revenues of Nepalese tourism in 2017 is only $0.6 billion. And Chinese tourist arrivals made an obvious increase in 2018, reaching 150,000. But compared with South Korea and Thailand, the tourism of Nepal is still not fully developed. And the tourists arrived to Thailand in 2018 exceeded 68 million. 38 million Chinese tourist arrival exceeded 10 million. The revenue of Thailand tourism in 2018 is $63 billion. So there is still much development space for Nepal's tourism. Nepal should send delegations to those countries and regions with highly developed tourism to learn their experience and then to formulate feasible tourism development plans with its own features. And the fifth, to give full play to the role of non-governmental organizations in Sino-Nepalese trade cooperation. In Sino-Nepalese economic and trade activities, various non-governmental organizations play a very vital role, among which the Nepal-China Non-Governmental Cooperation Forum, China-Nepal Investment and Economic and Trade Forum are particularly indispensable. They have become the important channels for closing bilateral economic and trade cooperation and provides entrepreneurs of both countries with platform of mutual understanding in the cooperation. And the sixth is the strengthening the docking and the cooperation with the Nepalese local enterprises. China-Nepal Friendship Industry Park under BRI, which was supposed to give employment to 1 lakh people in the Green Revolution in the industrial sector. But now it is facing protests by local for the no compensation provided to them for land acquisition. About 10 years have passed since the decision to build the park, but the work has not yet progressed. So in order to achieve the high quality and sustainable development of the BRI construction, a positive interaction between Chinese and the Nepalese enterprises is required. And the last part, I would like to talk about the date trap or development opportunity. The FDI of the Chinese FDI effectively promoting the FDI. The next part, please. The FDI, the Chinese FDI effectively promoting the economic development and improving people's livelihood, bringing tangible benefits to the Nepalese people. Since 2017, practical cooperation projects in infrastructure, border ports, people-to-people and cultural exchanges and other fields between the two countries have been continuously promoted, and the China-Nepal three-dimensional collecting network across the Himalayas has gradually taken shapes. China has been the largest source of foreign investment in Nepal for 7 consecutive years, and the Chinese investment has created over 100,000 jobs opportunities for Nepal. And China has always carried out investment in financing cooperation based on the principle of openness and transparency. China follows market law and international rules, respecting the wishes of relevant countries, never forces any parties to borrow money, does not attach any political conditions to loan agreements, and does not seek any political self-interest. China attaches importance to the issues of data stability and has cooperated with relevant countries to issue the Belt and Road financing guidelines and data stability analysis framework, helping to build countries to improve data management capabilities. So far, none of the partners has recognized the so-called data trap caused by the BRI. And China has always done its best to help developing countries alleviation their debt burden. China has fully implemented the G20 debt relief initiative with the largest total amount of debt relief among G20 members, and has participated in the handling of individual countries' debt cases together with relevant members. And here we will talk about the Nepal, the debt trap, so-called debt trap. Although the Nepal's external debt stock has increased in the past decade, its debt ratio has remained within a controllable range, and advocating for Nepal to fall into a debt trap is even more groundless. The loan provided by China to Nepal are mainly long-term, low interest, or even interest-free. China loan to Nepal not only do not lead to a debt crisis in Nepal, but can effectively promote Nepal's economic development. Europe, America, and other countries ignored China's positive roles in the economic development of countries along the BRI, including Nepal. They led the debt of country along the BRI to China and stigmatized the economic cooperation between China and the countries along BRI as a debt trap. There are complex power and political considerations behind it. The United States promotes the debt trap theories to countries along the BRI, mainly to curb the expansion of China's influence in these regions by undermining the economic cooperation between China and countries along the BRI, and to obstruct China's rise to maintain its world hegemony. So I will stop here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Huang Zhendu, for your presentation. May I now invite Ms. Sabita Nakarmi for her presentation. Ms. Sabita Nakarmi is counselor at the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing. She is in charge of political, education, and cultural affairs of the university. She has 13 years of long experience in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nepal. She has also served in Embassy of Nepal in Ottawa and Permanent Mission of Nepal to the United Nations in New York in the past. Ms. Sabita Nakarmi would be speaking on investment opportunity in Nepal. Ms. Nakarmi, over to you.
Namaste. This is Sabita Nakarmi, counselor, and first of all, His Excellency Mr. Bishnupukar, His Excellency Mr. Bishnupukar Shrestha, and other respected former speakers. I'm going to present on investment opportunities in Nepal, and before that, let me share my screen. Is it visible? I hope.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. As investment opportunity in Nepal is this title, so my presentation will be focused on the how Nepal can be a virgin land of investment that we know can be further utilized for the investment from foreign countries, basically China here. So in my presentation, I will be talking about Nepal at a glance, and then the plans and programs of Nepal where development, economic prosperity has been highlighted, then the priority sectors where investment can be made, and conducive environment for investment in Nepal, how it is feasible and what has been measures has been undertaken for enhancing investment cooperation between Nepal and China and other countries. And I'll be also dealing on this policy and legal framework that are existing in Nepal and process of investing, and briefly touch upon the Nepal-China relation as well. So the next one. Talking about the Nepal, we all know that it is a beautiful country. It's an attractive and excellent destination for investment, located in the lap of the Himalayas, and then in the South Asian nation bordered by China to the north and East India to the east, west and south. So the topographically, the attitudinal variation that goes from 60 to 60 meter to 8,848.86 meter. This geographical and topographical attitudinal variation gives a kind of the variation of the environment, the climate that allows for the tourism industry and the investment in that area as well. Whereas talking about the population, we have like 30 million population that is a population dividend as well that can be exploited or utilized for the labor matters as well. So about this government, we have this multi-party parliamentary democracy where the elected prime minister is accountable as a parliament head, as the executive head only. So talking about the energy resources, we have like Gandaki, Kosi and Mahakali, Karnali and Mahakali basins where hydroelectricity can be tapped and then produced. And talking about the nearest port, like Nepal is a landlocked country, so we have to take the permit of the third country transit from Kolkata, and then Visakhapatnam, and we have these nearest ports also, and we have the ports in the northern side as well. So now let me talk about why we need to invest in Nepal. So we said, I just said, Nepal is a landlocked country. It's the least developed country also. So it has got different kind of the challenges. For example, the structural constraints are there, deficits of infrastructure is there, the limited technical and financial resources are there, and limited lack of trade diversification, and the ballooning of the trade deficit is there, supply side constraints are there, and regarding weak backward linkage of the raw material based supply is also there. So in the same way, for the production part, we have laboratory certification mechanism are also come as the bottlenecks only. So these are the problems that we are facing as a landlocked country and also least developed country. So and after constitution has been promulgated, economic development has been, economic prosperity and then economic growth has been prioritized. Even the constitution article number 51 has stipulated that country needs FDI should be encouraged for the foreign capital and technological investment in the areas of import substitution and export promotion. So in consonance with national interest and encourage mobilize more investment in the infrastructure building. So constitution has also stipulated that we need capital, we need the funds, we need the financial assistance as FDI so that country can move ahead toward economic development. So in the same vein, like Nepal has also this 15th periodic plan that is undergoing. So it has set the target like 22 national pride projects are there, and there are 18 new transformative projects and 177 high priority projects are there. And at the same time, Nepal has also prioritized public-private partnership, PPP, where private sectors have been prioritized for the production and investment, and the government comes as a facilitator or the regulator only. And government also has targeted to reduce the poverty from 18% to 9%, and also increase the per capita income from $1,000 to $15,000, above $15,000, and to also increase literacy rate from 70% to 90%, and to also, all in all, to increase and increment the GDP in particularly in these areas of service and the agriculture and industry and others as well. So for that, we have also the 10-year next decade plan also, where we are targeting for the 5 international airport, in which Pokhara Airport has been already inaugurated, and then Gautam Buddha International Airport is also in operation, and we are targeting for the railway also, for which we have been taking assistance from the both of our neighbors, and then transportation roads are also equally important. And for the decade, we are also targeting to produce 15,000 megawatt of energy, and our aim is also for this tourism increment in the number of the tourists. So in that sense, if when we have these plans, we have also the priority sectors we have already selected, like energy, tourism, transportation, agriculture, ICT, manufacturing, mines and minerals, etc. are our priority sectors only. So now talking about the overview of the foreign investment is like we have the I have already shown that the energy sector is there, and then the service sector. So the highest investment we can find in the service sector, as the number of industries are 1,770, and then we have in tourism sector also the industry number is more. In this way, service sectors, tourism sector, then energy sector, manufacturing sectors are the prioritized area. Now we are also thinking about, I think the battery is low. Please bear me for a minute. My battery has become low. Okay. So these are the areas where investment can be made, and in the next picture we can find that the investment from China, like China is the second largest trade partner. In the same way, the commitment for the investment is also highest towards Nepal from China. So we can see in this figure that China's commitment toward investment in Nepal is more. So so these are the prioritized sectors where investment can be made, and then for those sectors, how can we encourage the countries, the foreign countries, to invest? We can find the conducive climate for investment in Nepal. For example, the policy regime is liberal, and then the common agenda is for the economic prosperity, and our connection with several multilateral, regional, and international organizations are there. And we have also developed infrastructure areas, industrial areas like special economic zones also, and then industrial corridor, industrial villages are there. At the same time, we have a number of bankable projects that can be utilized. Another important thing, as I have already mentioned, is the landlocked country. It is a strategy. This landlockedness can be strategically utilized, for which the landlocked country status can be changed, transformed into landlocked country. And then for the investment, foreign investment, there is the 100% repatriation of the investment is given. And after the investment is there, if there is an employee salary, 75% will be provided to them. So there is a non-discrimination in the foreign investors also, and national treatment is provided to them. So similarly, the visa regime is also liberal. Tourist visa is on arrival, and even non-tourist visa is provided for on the basis of the work permit, and then business visas are also provided for the entrepreneurs and their families. And residential visa is granted directly to the investors who invest more than $1 million American dollar. In the same way, for the guarantee of the security that the foreigners or the investors always claim, there is also 100% ownership is given, and the investment can be done in all sectors except few negative, this sensitive list only. Even negative list of the agriculture has been kept open, has been made open under the condition that if the export is made for the 75%. So in the same way, guarantee the property right has been ensured, and we have very cheap labor, and we have population evidence of the 57% of the people of the working age, and the labor rate is also low. And if there is any kind of the dispute, then dispute settlement mechanism is also in place. Meanwhile, when these mechanisms are there, we can also take advantage of the engagement with the international organization like SAARC, BIMSTEC, MEGA, and World Trade Organization that Nepal is member to. In the same way, Nepal has also developed and enacted and enforced several policies, laws, and acts such as BIPA, that is for the protection of the bilateral investment, which has been done with the 5 countries, whereas India is yet to be ratified, and we have this double taxation avoidance agreement also done with the 11 countries. The names are already given here in the PPT, we can find that. And another thing, another benefit that you can find when investors are investing in the country in Nepal is like we find the duty-free and open border access to India, duty-free access to China for 8,000 plus products. So products should be, governments have to work, and the private sectors have to be encouraged to promote such kind of the production and their exports towards China. And duty-free, quota-free market access is also available under the European Union's criteria of everything but arms arrangement. And for other countries like the US also, there are like the market access to 77 products, among which 66 are the garment types only. Meanwhile, the doing business indicator of Nepal, the doing business environment for the investment is also improving, in the sense that now it is the World Bank has categorized Nepal into this 94th position, whereas in South Asia, Nepal is in the 3rd position among the South Asian countries, and Nepal is one of the top improver also in the global risk ranking also. So in that sense, there are certain issues, like in the indicator, we have the difficulty in the paying taxes. Also, the tax window has also been facilitated. It has been also improved. However, the ranking is high. So in that sense, Nepal still has to work on this, but the situation is gradually changing. So one of the interesting thing about the changes that has been brought is about the one-stop service center. So lots of the complaints have been heard, like about the conversion, and then difficult and then slow process in Nepal for the investment. So Nepal has also developed one-stop service centers where registration of the industries, renewal and exit, and then approval of the foreign investment, and then facilitation for the exemption, concession, and visa recommendation. All these activities are conducted from the single building. So one-stop service center is done. For this, there are the one-stop service center. There is two organization has been, institutional mechanism has been developed, like if the investment is above 6 billion Nepali rupees, Nepali currency, then Nepal Investment Board has been established. And if it is below 6 billion Nepali rupees, which is $53 million US, that can be handled by the Department of Industry. And the minimum threshold for any kind of the investment in Nepal is 20 million. So with that 20 million only, the SMEs also can be established. So now I'm going towards this policy and legal framework also. So we have this developed Public-Private Partnership and Investment Act 2019 and Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act 2019, Special Economic Zone Act 2016 are in place. And the same way we have this foreign investment policy is also in place, and Public-Private Partnership Policy 2015 are also there. And as we have talked about, the Labor Improvement Labor Act is there, and the Industrial Entrepreneur Act is also there. Company Act is also there. The number of the policy framework has been formulated, and they have been enforced in order to create the enabling environment for to attract investment in Nepal. So with all this is only the elaboration of the same thing. However, I would like to read that several schemes for the special industries defined as product-based, agriculture and forest-based and mineral industries located in SCGs, there are the special kind of incentive has been introduced, and I'm highlighting in this agricultural center because Nepal is an agro-based country, and then until and unless we modernize this agricultural sector, we cannot think about modernization or the economic growth, which we can get from the relation from China. Also, that how China has prioritized agriculture and its modernization for the development, for the poverty eradication that they have already achieved. And there are also concession agreements such as PDA and PIA also, which has been useful for the investors, and hedging regulations are there. 16 special economic zones are already in place, and 6 industrial districts are there. So activities and then plans and projects are there, but still there needs to be continuation, and more investors should be encouraged, and they should be encouraged and inspire to visit Nepal with the purpose of investing. As commitments has been done, they should be reimbursed as well. And how can we invest? Means foreigners can, investors can invest. Then there are the ways, like you can establish a branch or liaison office. Also, you can also establish a local subsidiary, as well as a joint venture. So these are the ways where investment can be done. And the investment mode are also there, like the build, operate, and transfer, build, operate, own, and transfer. And then engineering, procurement, construction is also there, and engineering, procurement, construction, and finance. Means now the one which is more in practice are the build, operate, own, and transfer there. However, there are some of the, when there are the foreign direct investment related issues are there, engineering, procurement, construction, finance also can be one of the viable option for that. So there are the method which has already been also mentioned how we can do. Once we said, like we have this large office can be there, a joint venture can be there, or this completely 100% owned industries can be there. In the same way, there are other, it is a reiteration of the same thing, like through the investment in the share in the new or the existing industry also we can do. Or reinvestment of the earning derived from earlier investment can also be done. Also, lease financing of the equipments is also possible. So if there are the companies which are in loss, then after venture capital fund also can be taken as one of the ways. And acquisition of the shares are another ways where we can do. And we also think about the technical sharing of the technical knowledge, and also the transfer of the technology and capacity development also are also the ways how investment can be made. So talking about the tax thing means, like the tax also rate also has, there is a kind of a lot of changes, or the improvement has been done in the taxation also. For example, the tax rate is, general tax rate is 25, but corporate tax rate is 20%, whereas the VAT is 13%. And those countries which those investors who are getting profit from the exports, and then they are also they can also enjoy tax holidays. In the same way, the tax rebate rate is 20% for remote, and 25% for undeveloped, and 20% for the underdeveloped areas. So there are also cash incentive scheme on basis of the export amount of the priorities of the exportable goods. This way, the tax regime has been reformed so that lots of the a number of investors can be encouraged to invest in Nepal. So then this lingering or the time-consuming and difficult investment process has been simplified. Of course, there are phases, but however, the process can be you can summarize like there will be the initial consultation where the investors will be applying with the applications, and once the investment board or the Department of Industry approves it, then there will be the registration at the Office of Registrar, and from there the tax registration will be done, and industry registration at the Department of Industry, and then clearance from the Nepal Rashtra Bank is also done. But there is one change, that if there is the pre-approval from the Nepal Rashtra Bank that was mandatory has been reduced now. And then after that, we get the permission approval, and then visa process, trademark, and other matters are there. From then, the negotiation and agreement will take place, and the additional services will be done. So it is normally said like from the day of the application, within the 7 days, all these activities are taken care of as of now. So this is how the process of the investment is now in at a glance only. We have different opportunities, like we have this tourism sector, also we have agriculture sectors, and Nepal as a beautiful country is there. At the same time now, what about the China's relation with Nepal? So we all know that Nepal and China has age-old deep relation, which also goes back to our traditional and then historical and cultural ties. And with the establishment of diplomatic relation in 1955, only it has been continued to grow. So in this relation, if we are talking about the investment, then we can talk about this there's borders areas are there which has been opened recently, 3 of them. Still there are many to be developed, and there are also the laboratory mechanisms should be done, and tunnels are at the same time. And we know about the railroad cross-border railway feasibility study is going on. At the same time, there is the transmission line, we can say the feasibility study is done, and the negotiation and the consultation phase is undergoing for the transmission lines as well. And energy is the major source where China has already also invested and still continue to invest. And then we can think about the trade between energy trade between Nepal and China, so that the electricity is also produced in both countries and then sold in the Chinese market as well. And at the same time, we had the discussion about the education system also, where cooperation is ongoing. And then BRI is another important thing which we have already signed it in 2017. So the implementation of the BRI is one of the priority areas which the government will be taking care of in the due course of time. So the BRI has also opened the avenues where infrastructure development can be, infrastructure investment can be one of the means to connect two countries. So this slide is basically about how the past collaboration has been taken place, and what are the other ways only. Some of them has already taken place, and some of them are still there. And the stories about the Hongxi cement is there, Guangxi cement is also there, and then Power China about the Tamakosi hydropower projects are also there. So there are a number of the success stories. There are yet a lot of avenues where investment can be done, and two countries should work together and investment. We invite the investors to invest in the potential and nationally prioritized sectors of Nepal. So this is how this is about just a glimpse of the Friendship Industrial Park in Japa only, so which is still undergoing. So this is how I would like to end, and then I thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Ms. Savita Nakarmi, thank you so much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, here we come to the end of all the presentations. Since we are running late, we are skipping the question and answers round. Please accept our sincere apologies. However, we promise to organize another session on Nepal-China relation very soon. Finally, I would like to invite Ambassador Mr. Vishnu Pukar Shrestha to deliver the vote of thanks. Excellency, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jaisawal. I think we have done a pretty good job today. And even though we have to skip up for the question and answer session because of the time limit. I'm just here to thank you to all of the presenters today. They have done a very fabulous job, fantastic job. I think the investors will have got away and understands how the situation of Nepal very well. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the presenters for their insightful presentation of today's webinar. Today's webinar, I am confident that the webinar has been successful to share information about investment opportunities in Nepal. And most of the presenters have very nicely presented and said well that Nepal is a virgin land for investment in different sectors. Today, we have discussed only on agriculture, tourism, and a little bit about education. I wish to express my sincere thanks to Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, CEO of Nepal Tourism Board, for shedding light on the potential of tourism industry in Nepal. I also would like to thank and our heartfelt gratitude go to Ms. Madam Sabnam Sivakoti, Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development of Nepal, sharing information about the investment potential in agriculture sector of Nepal. Similarly, I would like to thank to Professor Long Sichuan International Studies Professor of Sichuan International Studies University of Informative presentations and development of education sector in China. And I also would like to thank for his very important suggestion for cooperation between Nepal and China in the field of education. Professor Wang Jiang, Nepal Study Center, Sichuan University, I highlighted the nuances of Belt and Road Initiative. I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart for his insightful presentation. I also would like to thank Ms. Sabita Nakami, Councillor of the Embassy of Nepal, for our presentation on the investment opportunity of Nepal. With deep respect, I would like to thank CODA, China Overseas Development Agency, for sharing the details of the programs with the potential investors of China. And I would like to say one word for CODA that in the future we will also get same kinds of opportunity and cooperation from CODA. We are grateful to NICE, Dr. Pramod Jaisawal and the team for the invaluable support for collaborations with the Embassy of Nepal for today's successful program. And I'm hopeful that in the future we will get the similar kind of cooperation from NICE. In short, I would like to say NICE. And also thank to all the audience for the seminar for their participation and engagement, for their valuable time. and giving us the inspiration participating in this very program. Ladies and gentlemen, the Embassy of Nepal in Beijing believes that today's interaction program has helped potential Chinese investors get a deeper understanding of the possibilities of investment in Nepal. And I'm also hopeful that they have got the potentialities in where they can invest. And where they can invest and they can afford. Investment is not only to invest, but if you invest in Nepal, there is a high potentiality. You can earn money too. The government of Nepal is ready to welcome Chinese investment and facilitate as and when necessary. Embassy of Nepal is always with you and available to you to extend all possible cooperation to Chinese companies that inspire to invest in Nepal. If there is any query or confusion, please don't hesitate to contact. Feel free to reach out. The Embassy of Nepal in Beijing is always with you. We will put our best efforts to resolve the matter at the earliest regarding the investment in Nepal. Once again, I would like to thank all the presenters and participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you so much. Excellency, distinguished speakers, and dear participants, thank you so much for your wonderful time. We hope to have you again in future in our upcoming events. Thank you so much and have a nice day.